Sorry about that. So yeah, I was talking about how there's that scene where I believe her name's Sarah tells Nicholas at the beginning of towards the beginning of the movie that Amin's gonna ruin this country, just like the president before him did. And he doesn't believe him because he's like that. He doesn't believe her because he's kind of an optimist, and he's like, give him a chance. And but yeah, in fact, obviously, Idi Amin ends up being a terrible president. And he sees her later on the bus. I guess it's leaving the country, maybe.
Great moment.
And he sees her, and it's like, man, she was right,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really powerful moment. The music was really good in that scene.
Yeah.
Specifically, the music is underrated. Like it has like this rock music sometimes that starts playing, but it like works. It doesn't seem like it would work, but it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the story, I just think the story of this movie was really well set up. It's just, as Nate said, very tension filled, and it really just allows the audience to. I think it's just a compelling story about the guy, who gets stuck in a situation that he didn't understand.
Yeah, but I just think it's a very sophisticated, smart, tight script that doesn't waste a lot of words or time.
And what about another positive is the way in which the way in which the movie shows the regime and all the bad things they did. It doesn't have to show it so like overtly. It shows it through it. Like it implies a lot of stuff. I thought that was even more effective than just like showing them shooting people in the villages and stuff. I thought it was more effective.
They were pretty grotesque at times.
There was a couple moments.
Like they did show there's a woman who got killed. Important to the plot. Her arms were like severed and sewn to her legs, and her legs were sewn to her arms, and that was horrifying to see.
I just feel like if you were watching the movie though, like for the first time, you might think that it was gonna like show like them just executing people just like in a field or something, but it never really does that. Nicholas learns about this stuff throughout the movie, and it makes it almost kind of more disturbing. Like he's over there in the rich area, having fun, and everybody else is just dying, out in the countryside. But no, I agree. There are definitely some really violent moments. The scene he's talking about is when Kay and him have an affair. She gets pregnant. It's got to get if Idi Amin finds out, she's dead. And so, so he is going to perform the operation himself, but he goes to the press conference of Idi Amin's doing, and he's late, and she goes to the village doctor. But I guess Idi Amin had sniffed it out and had sent his men to kill her, and they kind of make an example of her by like cutting her up, and it pretty much shows her cut up body, and that was pretty brutal. But I feel like that was kind of intended. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a disturbing moment.
Yeah, I mean, don't let children watch this film.
Yeah, no,
it's definitely not for children, but.
There's also nothing that they would enjoy about it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it is a very mature film, and I think there is an argument to be made that at times it is a little bit too grotesque.
So that could be your nitpick.
That could be a nitpick.
Yeah.
Now, you want to be careful with that critique because they are smart about it in using that to unfold the evil of the regime before you.
For sure.
And so that is a tool of the film. And unlike some other films, I didn't quite get the feeling while watching this one that they were just being grotesque for the sake of it.
Yeah, I didn't think that either.
You get that feeling with a lot of modern films. I didn't quite get that one. There were some moments, though, that I was watching it between the, smoking, alcohol consumption, cursing, sexuality that was really explicit nudity,
fast forward through
and sex scenes, and then the violence between all of that. I did get the feeling at times that I was like, this isn't quite good for me to watch, just for my soul and everything.
Yeah,
so
we did fast forward through one of them, though.
Oh, for sure.
A couple of them you can't really skip. They're just kind of 5-second scenes.
But I feel like you should take that into consideration when judging the movie. Right? So I guess, is that a good way for us to go into nitpicks?
Well, I had one more. I just had a couple, because it's a really good movie.
It is a really good movie.
And if you have another one...
Oh, and before you do your positive, here's a positive for you, tanks.
Oh, yeah.
That's a positive.
You always love tanks.
The tanks, they were great.
Really, yeah. I really enjoy this movie, for a big reason I enjoy this movie is because it really has a lot of good lessons to teach.
Wouldn't that be themes, though?
Yeah, but I was just going to say there's some really moving moments throughout the movie where it brings out big emotions in the audience. Sure. And the number one moment is at the end when the doctor saves Nicholas, and he's like, I'm tired of all this. Our country deserves better. And I don't know, I got kind of goosebumps during that scene.
That was a great scene. That was kind of a capstone moment of the whole film.
And he's like, you deserve to die, but I don't know why I'm saving you, because you deserve to die. But, they're only going to listen to you because you're a white man, which is, He's not wrong. And back then, and it was just a really powerful scene. And then obviously him getting killed at the end by Idi Amin's bodyguards is really, you just feel, he was the hero. He's kind of the hero of the movie ultimately. I mean, he helps Nicholas get away, and that whole final sequence is just perfect. And obviously, it uses a real life historical event, with the Entebbe airport incident where Idi Amin gave the Palestinians refuge at his airport after they had taken a plane hostage. And actually, it says at the end that they liberated all but one of the hostages, and they didn't just like they just came in with freaking soldiers.
Yeah, like Israeli special forces.
There's some movies about that too, called Operation Entebbe is what they call it. I mean, the Israelis don't fool around, man. They don't. You mess with them, they take you out. We need to do a movie called Munich, which is about the retaliation for the Munich Olympic massacre.
I'd be really interested in that because I'm very interested in the FBI's hostage rescue team, and the hostage rescue team was actually birthed as a consequence of the Munich incident. Okay. Because the games were being held in Los Angeles the next year, so I would be very interested.
Yeah, no, it's just about the Mossad's attempt to take out all the guys that were responsible for it, the terrorists, Black September. But anyway, back to The Last King of Scotland. I really enjoyed that scene. And there's some other moments where you really Forrest Whitaker just commands the screen. Like, there's scenes where it's like you kind of feel just uneasy when he's talking to Nicholas. The big scene that stands out is when he tells him that he can't go home. It's like, at that point, like, if you haven't seen the movie, you kind of think, and you don't know anything about the history, you're kind of like, okay, this guy, he's like crazy, but like he's kind of he's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He's kind of a lovable, fat man. But like at that point, you're like, no, he's just crazy. Like he's just not gonna let him go. He takes away his passport, and that's when the movie ratchets up the tension. Is after that scene, and I feel like that was a really good turning point of the movie. And that goes back to the writing, obviously. Mm-hmm. They found a good place to like ratchet up the tension.
Yes, absolutely.
And so this movie is really good. I'm gonna give it a really high rating.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, every scene I'd say literally just every scene with Forrest Whitaker in this movie is just really good, like high quality. And that's just because he's a great actor. But yeah, if we want to go on nitpicks.
Let's nitpick. So I mentioned one, which was the vulgarity. Another nitpick, and we say nitpicks because this movie is very. I would almost use the word excellent. Yeah. It's an excellent film, and intelligent, creative, all of those things. And one of them was I would have liked to know who actually tried to kill him. You remember the scene where he would have gotten assassinated if not for the fact he was riding
with Nicholas.
And the whole point of that sequence was to have Nicholas falsely identify the health minister as the conspirator. Yeah. And by the way, they set that up really excellently because there was that one scene, remember, he was like, I don't like the way that man looks at me. Yeah. And then it built from there. Anyway, that was really, really good how they set that up.
Once again, that guy gave a good performance. The guy, I never, I think he was just kind of I don't think he was a well-known actor or anything. He was really good.
I liked him.
Jonah Waswa, I think was his name. He was a real guy too, and he got killed.
Did a good job, Jonah.
It was a true story.
But, so the whole point was that he was supposed to go down that rabbit hole, and he tells him that he thinks the health minister was behind it, but then he wasn't. But then the movie's like doesn't tell you who actually did it.
Well, I think it's so the former president Obote. Mm-hmm. They keep on talking about him. It was his men. So Obote is in exile.
Okay.
During the movie, he's been.
So do they actually explain this? I just didn't.
I don't know if they. I mean, they definitely make it clear that Obote was thrown out under a coup. And I don't know if he's in the city. I think he's in exile, but he has these operatives.
Well, it's funny
that are trying to kill Idi Amin.
Even Idi doesn't know who it is because he's yelling at the guys, and he's like, "Why would you try to kill me?" And then he
says, he says, "Did Obote tell you to kill me?"
Yeah.
He's like, but you want to kill me for that drunk silly man?
They never really find out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of assumed that it is Obote.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think that's really necessary to the plot. Yeah, I just personally would have liked to know.
It was a good scene.
It was
because you really get you get a real good look at what a dictator is like in that scene of how like he is so paranoid. Like every dictator, when you get all the power, like you think everybody's after you, and that was another great part of Forrest Whitaker's performance. You really see how he's scared. He doesn't trust anybody. Like you can see it in his eyes. Like he doesn't trust anybody. He says this like I can trust no one.
So question: do you think that he trusts Nicholas at any point during the movie? Because he's always saying that he does.
Yeah, but then he'll call him a nobody.
Yeah.
He's like, you are a nobody.
Yeah, so like
that scene was phenomenal too. Every scene with Forrest Whitaker, I'm telling you. But yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I was trying to decide for myself. My knee-jerk reaction is to think that he did trust him at some point, but then his paranoia increased over the film.
At what point is what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely trusted him.
Yeah, I feel like
Scottish.
I feel like he did, and actually, whenever he did trust him, it was actually rightfully so, because in the first, even 2/3 of the film, he's actually loyal to Amin. So I don't know.
You really got Amin's crazy because like he throws out all the Asians from the country, and and that desolates the economy, and he did it despite Nicholas saying that he did it despite Nicholas telling him not to. And then he's like, why did you tell me to throw the Asians out in the first place? He's like, I did. And then he's like, but you did not persuade me. And he's just crazy. So he like doesn't trust him there. And then he's like, well, now tell me what to do. So he's just, I don't know if you could say he ever fully trusted him because he's paranoid.
I actually think that line you just mentioned is a really key element of understanding the story, but I'd like to get it to
Which line?
Tell me what to do.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm gonna get to that in the theme section.
But I don't know. I feel like he never fully trusts. I feel like he's not able to trust anybody.
I actually think there was a time in which he fully trusted.
When was it? Right at the
beginning? Early in the film.
After he met him for the first time?
Well, like not that early. Like early in his service.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Because he definitely favored him over Jonah Waswa.
Exactly.
The health minister.
Yeah.
He was like, you're Tweedledee and you're Tweedledum. And he's like, look at your awful suit.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. Dude, that guy was really, he was cool, man.
Yeah.
I love that scene when after Nicholas figures out that they've taken his passport, and they give him an Ugandan passport. He finally goes to the British guy who was right all along. The most British looking dude too. And he goes to him and he's like, he tells him about all that's been happening, all the people that have been getting executed, and he's like, including your friend Jonah Waswa, and he's like, this man was actually trying to help his country. I don't know, that line was really cool. It's like, yeah, that guy was actually trying to help. He got killed for trying to help.
The other nitpick that I have, again, small, but it's not, the movie doesn't make clear unless I missed it, how Amin actually finds out about the affair. And so he's like,
that is true. That would be mine too.
He's like, I know. And it's like, how do you know?
And it's not clear when he knows.
Yeah.
Because so he says, so Nicholas that's going to be my nitpick. That sequence when Nicholas tells him to go talk to the reporters, and then he goes to the press conference, and then he knows he has to get to Kay's house to help do the procedure, and he obviously runs out of time. He's late. She gets killed by the bodyguards because she tries to go to the village doctor, and it doesn't make it clear whether or not she. How did he figure it? Well, did he know at that point that it was Nicholas, or did he? Or because Nicholas then goes back to Edie's house, and Idi Amin's like, without Nicholas saying anything, Nicholas walks in and he's like, he somehow knows that Nicholas saw her dead.
Yeah. And
he's like, I made an example out of her.
Yeah, I know.
And the scene's fine, but it just doesn't make sense because it's like, did Nicholas tell him that before that's where he was going or something?
Yeah.
Or maybe, I guess, well, the only explanation is that his bodyguard said, oh yeah, Nicholas was there, and so that's how he would have known.
Yeah, but if that's the case,
how does he know that Nicholas knew that he killed her?
Yeah, and then if that's the case, wouldn't he already know that he did the affair with him? Why didn't he kill him then?
Yeah, it's not clear if he knows that he had the affair with her from the outset there, or if it's in between that scene and the scene where he hangs him up on the hooks.
How he got that knowledge?
I guess the bodyguards were following, because here's another nitpick that's kind of a plot hole. After the scene where Kay and Nicholas get together, they're lying on the bed. These guys start banging on the door. And he just somehow gets away.
Yeah.
And that never leads to anything. You assume that that's Amin's guys, and that would have maybe they saw it and then they just kept it a secret. Amin kept it a secret for a long time. That's honestly what I think. I think Idi Amin knew and then just kept it a secret.
But why would he do that?
See, that's my biggest nitpick.
Yeah.
It's not a big problem. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything.
But it's what were they even looking for?
They're just banging on the door, and then he just leaves out the window.
I guess.
And then it just cuts to Idi Amin playing the accordion, and it's that's another. This is a cool thing about the movie. It shows how Idi Amin was very multicultural. I mean, obviously he claimed to be the last king of Scotland. He was obsessed with Scotland. and he loved to play the accordion. He was a boxer before he became president. So there's that scene where he's like boxing, pretending to like box with people, and he loves swimming, like racing in the pool and stuff.
I won.
Yeah, he like jumps out. He's like I won. And then it's just the health minister just sitting there like. in his Speedo. That was kind of funny, but it's kind of a plot hole. It never really reveals when he figured out that Nicholas.
It's just unclear, I guess.
I mean, it still works. I mean, you understand why he would hang him by the hooks after that.
Which that's
I think that's the most intense scene.
Ooh,
that's just painful to watch. Basically, Nicholas gets hung by hooks from his
through his pectorals.
Yeah, through his pectorals. And he gets hung up in the air.
It's hard to not squirm while watching that scene.
Because it has that sound effect when they go in his body.
They just like...
It was real. What they showed it from a wide shot too. I don't know how they filmed that. That'd be wild.
Ooh.
But the director wanted to get it super accurate apparently.
Yeah, I mean also the effects with the blood and stuff. Oh, yeah. Even his bruises.
You see his body afterwards and it's like, oh. I don't know how it wouldn't rip through his skin. They must have really dug it into his body.
I guess he got some good.
Good skin. I mean, hey, credit to James McAvoy, man. He had some pecs.
I mean, that's why you hit the gym, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, even in Uganda. But no, yeah, that was a really well done scene though. That's probably the scariest moment of Idi Amin is when he's talking to him saying, "I know." He's like, "Why did you do that? How did you do that to me?" Mm-hmm. But what do you think was the scariest moment of Idi Amin in the movie?
Well,
really kind of. Or not scary, but maybe
hanging him by hooks has to be the one.
You agree?
Yeah, I mean that's just crazy.
He claims that it's some kind of ancient ritual or something, and the evil will be spent from every time you scream. The evil comes out of you. The evil.
Yeah, and then he couldn't say evil, right?
The evil.
Yeah, he spells evil EVA. The evil.
The evil.
The evil.
Yeah, but that's definitely a nitpick, that plot hole there. But,
And you know what they should have included? A scene with the Israeli Defense Forces raiding the airport. Just kidding.
It would have been cool, but that would have definitely made the movie.
Oh no, I'm messing around. I'm messing around. Yeah.
There's a whole another movie about that though.
We can just make it the sequel, you know.
Yeah, it's called Operation Entebbe.
Dude, what if you did? Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna go on. Anyway,
Munich and Operation Entebbe. You're on the list.
There we go. And so now I want to talk about history.
We usually do themes first.
Okay, themes. Awesome. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think the biggest theme of this movie is so Nicholas gets into a situation that he can't get out of, a bad situation, and I feel like the theme is Nicholas continually rejects truth even when he knows it, you know? The British guy is pretty clearly tells him, stuff isn't going on. Bad stuff's happening. And so I think a big theme is I always have a hard time wording themes. They're kind of hard to word. But knowing that you are, the theme of do you want to go first while I figure out how to word my theme?
Of course. I was thinking about the theme a lot while I was watching the movie. And this is the way that I would word it. I think that this movie is about finding the center. Yeah. And
explain what you mean.
I will explain what I mean. So, and there's actually multiple layers to this kind of theme that goes out through the movie. But let's start with the doctor. What's his name?
Nicholas Garrick.
Garrigan, my bad. So Nicholas...
Good old Nick.
It's clear from the very beginning of the film that he has no center in his life.
Yeah.
And a bedrock on which to build.
His parents are kind of distant.
Well, his parents were actually very nice to him.
I guess so.
It really doesn't have much to do with his parents. It's just, you can tell from that scream he does at the beginning, he's just and he feels lost and drifting and pointless.
Yeah.
Which is why he spins the globe and just picks somewhere randomly.
Just not Canada.
Just not Canada, right?
The only place, he lands on Canada. He's just spin it again.
That was pretty funny.
Hey man, it ended up, maybe he should have gone to Canada.
He should have gone to Canada, honestly. A lot of things would have ended up different. But he has no center, right? And so he's searching for that center. And when he is with the missionaries, he actually encounters the only center that would be able to actually stabilize him. But instead, he's caught up with this. You can tell from the first scene that he sees the dictator, he likes him a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason is he's got this strong, kind of just no nonsense policy, and he seems like this really strong force, and I think that center kind of pulled him into its gravitational influence.
Yeah, Idi Amin is like a very... Like, the first time you see him, he gives the speech, and he's like this really, as a lot of dictators were, you know, they're like very appealing, you know, they look like they're like there to make change, and he's like, we'll build new schools, and it's like these revolutionary ideas, and then you get drawn into it, and you figure out what he's all really about.
But I think it's particularly persuasive for Nicholas, because it acts as that gravitational center for his life, which he does not have, right? So he substitutes that in, and now Amin is the center, right? But here is the interesting thing. I think what you find out through the film is that Amin doesn't have a center either, and when this actually comes out is in the scene that I mentioned earlier when he asks him, what do you think I should do, right? Because he doesn't even know where his center is either, and you can almost see in Nicholas's eyes, he realizes this thing that I made the center, it doesn't know where it is either, and so they're almost like these two, they're orbiting each other, but they don't have any rock, right, to tether themselves to, like an anchor to tether themselves to, and because of that, they just both spin out of control. Yeah. And I think you could, another layer that you could do with this is really cool, not just with the character of Nicholas, but with the country of Uganda, right? Yeah. The country of Uganda doesn't have a center either.
Yeah. I mean, the exact same thing.
Right, and so it has Amin come in again to be the center because he's strong and he almost masquerades.
He calls himself the father, right? Which that's obviously very Hitler-esque, you know. I mean, Hitler kind of took that same idea, like Germany after World War I. I mean, literally, a lot of people did not have fathers because they had all died. A lot of them had died in World War I, and so he put himself out there as like, "I'll be your father."
Exactly.
I am the father, and that's what a lot of cult leaders do. You know, it's a very common thing that people do to kind of get people's loyalty.
And I'd love to bounce off of that idea and talk about the two characters. There's two characters in the movie that do have centers, right? Okay. And the first one is the other doctor, the male missionary.
Okay. David, I think.
David, right? And the other one is another doctor is the guy who sacrifices himself at the end.
I forget his name.
And what you realize is that the similarity between the only two characters that have a center is the fact that they both...
Dr. Junju.
Dr. Junju is the fact that they both know God and put God first. Yeah. And so the doctor, David, is there to serve because of his faith. Yeah. And that acts as his center. And then it's not immediately clear that that's the case with Junju at first, but then there's this throwaway line that's super interesting.
So good. Yeah, I saw your reaction to that. Yeah.
Because it really put it all together for me, the whole theme of the movie, when he's like, you know, but what about you? Yeah. And he says, my fate is in God's hands, and you can tell. He just gives away his hand at that moment. He has the center that Nicholas. I keep wanting to say Edward for some reason. Nick. He looks like an Edward. That Nicholas doesn't have and can never have, right? And that's the reason that they kill him. I mean, obviously because he betrayed them, but because he has the center that they don't, and they know that they can't control him the same way that they can do other people who lack the center. Last final note on this, which is kind of interesting. The missionary's wife almost falls to temptation, but doesn't. Which, side note, to the side note, is a really interesting and I think really good moment, because it shows that human beings are not saints and that we're very temptable, but that we can make the right decision out of duty anyway.
That was a really good scene.
Very good. But the reason that she is tempted and almost falls is because her center isn't God like her husband is. Her center is actually her husband, right? And so she is connected to the ultimate center, but she is through like a mediator, right? Because she's connected to her husband who's connected to God. And so that's why she's like in the gravitational influence of God, but at the same time she's like farther out there, right? Because she's connected to her husband, and that's why she's almost pulled out, right? But she makes it, you know.
That was a really good scene, like overcoming temptation.
Right. But what I think is so human about that is that usually you would have the character be like, you know, like if it was a noble character would be like, I would never even consider such a thing. Be gone, Satan. But instead, I know, but instead she's like, oh my gosh, I really want to. Yeah. But then she said, out of duty, and
it's more human.
Immanuel Kant used to, I mean, he's dead now, but he thought that the highest form of virtue was duty, as opposed to Aristotle, who thought it was like passions, like ordering your passions correctly. But she kind of displays this Kantian ideal of virtue when she's like, I want to so bad, but out of duty, I'm not going to. Yeah.
So yeah, I found a way to kind of word my theme.
Go for it.
Which is like finding your coming. I'm just gonna say coming to reality.
Sure.
Like, cause like I feel like Nicholas gets waking up from like. I feel like Nicholas gets like a high off of being the doctor.
Yeah,
he's like, he loves this like rich life that he gets to live, and you see that theme of like slowly throughout the movie, he just realizes he messed up. You know, he's got to do something. You know, Idi Amin's terrible. He's killing people. I'm basically implicated in this. And that's all. That's really all I can think of. I don't know how else to expound on that theme. If you have some ideas, but just the theme of like how he's slowly realizing your faults, but then like actually trying to do something about it. Like I like how he's not passive. Like he does. It takes him a long time, but eventually he does wake up, you know, metaphorically, and he does try to do something. So I feel like that's kind of a good theme of the movie.
I feel like a good way to think about it, I was talking about centers and gravity, but like you could have the true center, which is like the sun, and then you have these fake false centers, which are like black holes. Yeah. And so he's drawn into the gravitational influence of the black hole, but the thing is eventually you pass the event horizon.
Yes. And the event horizon could be like the British guy.
Kind of. I think the event horizon is when he says, I have to go, and then he's like, you can't. That's the event. He realizes, and it's so true, this is the same way it is in life. We are presented with these temptations, right? Yeah. But they're really just bait for traps. And then you when you bite into it enough, when you grab that bait on the trap, and it's too late, it snaps shut, and you actually can't go back. And that's what he finds out, is that he passed the event horizon. He was drawn too far in by the gravitational pull, and he actually can't escape.
And there's that great scene after that follows that, the next scene, where Idi Amin's like, what you need is to have some fun. And then they have like this big party.
And he tries to drown it out.
Yeah, and he gets drunk. And then that's kind of like that's when he's old. I feel like that's the low of Nicholas.
Yes, like when you're drawn. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because, and then he hears the echoes of the voices of Amin, and I love how it shows the scene, it kind of harkens back to the scene at the beginning where his dad's like, you know, you've chosen an excellent profession. He's like, shoot, I've messed it all up, you know, and that's that scene of realization, you know, and then he obviously makes an even bigger mistake and goes and messes around with the wife.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the thing. When you're caught in the black hole, you only have two options, right? One is to go deeper, or two, and to kind of close your ears and go deeper, which is what he does. He gets drunk, and he kind of just and it's so funny because you think you have this perverse sense. I'm sure everyone has experienced this at some point when you are drawn into your own black holes. Is that you have this perverse sense that going deeper will actually fix the problem? Yeah. But it never does. It always makes it worse.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or you go against your sin nature and you repent, you turn, and you fight that gravitational influence, which obviously is super hard to do.
So when do you feel like he turns? Because I feel like he doesn't.
He doesn't. That's the thing.
You don't think he does? Okay.
That's the thing. It's not his action that saves him. It's the action of another, right? And exactly. And I think there's honestly a picture of Christ in that, because you have this sacrificial giving, right? That results in a death, and he made the hard decision that I want to say Edward. Oh my gosh, Nicholas never could, because his sin nature was too heavy upon him. And Calvinists think this. They believe that, and Arminians to a certain extent, that your sin nature is so powerful that you could never pull out. And it takes another person actually to save you, and I think that's a great picture of that in the end of the movie.
No. Oh, yeah. You did a good job of kind of taking my theme, and
that's
what I was thinking. You're a lot better with like wording themes than I am. But yeah, no, that's the big theme for me. Like waking up, and realizing that just kind of waking up.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Nicholas kind of fell asleep for a while, and then you realize, shoot.
But the thing is when he wakes up, he goes back to sleep again on purpose.
Yes.
Because he doesn't
want to. He doesn't want to. He basically hides himself. Like at that point, he knows crap's going down. He just hides himself from it.
The only way
until the last possible moment when he has to. He obviously tries to poison Idi Amin. But then again, a great moment of Nicholas is saving so the bodyguard of he's given the poison to Idi Amin, and he leaves it in the car. When they get out of the car at the airport, before he can grab it, the bodyguard grabs it. And he is obviously suspicious, and he gives it to this young soldier, and obviously Nicholas runs out and like makes him spit it out because he obviously doesn't want some innocent guy to die.
But he was
he was forced. I mean, either way, but I feel like he could have at that point tried to run.
I mean, he would have gotten caught.
He would have gotten caught. But I thought it was a kind of a noble moment.
I take your point. Yeah, for sure.
He could have. I mean, it probably would have been better off for him to try to run at that point and make some effort of escape. But no, he did go save the boy. Mm-hmm. I thought that was just a cool moment.
He does have other moments of morality, like when he refuses to do the abortion, at least at first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, he does.
I don't know what you saw in this scene, but whenever right after that scene, he talks to Dr. Junju, and Junju's like, "This is the only decision you've got to." And you were like, "Oh, that's fair." I remember you said that.
Yeah, it's because he. And this is goes on to like the abortion conversation, which is that you made the decision when you had sex, right? The decision's already been made, and people like to pretend like there's still a decision to be made, and that's what he was saying. He's like, you left her with no position, right? And honestly, like at risk of sounding grotesque, like just wear some protection, dude.
Yeah,
at the very least.
I guess that was the problem with getting drunk.
Like, come on, people act like this is like. It's like getting pregnant is like some mysterious thing that just happens and we can't control it. But it's like
it used it well as a plot device, though.
Oh, it ramped up the tension so much. It was a really good plot device. But that's what I meant when I said that's fair. It's because the guy was pointing out that he already made them. He already screwed up, right? Like,
what do you think the theme is? I feel like the last thing we can touch on with themes. What do you think the theme is surrounding Idi Amin? You think there's a central theme? I mean, you talk about how he doesn't have a center either.
Yeah. Ultimately. It's funny because I actually think that it's not a good idea to call Idi Amin crazy.
I think he's mentally ill.
He certainly was eccentric, and he certainly was evil. Yeah. But I think there's this tendency with dictators and authoritarians to kind of just label them as crazies. Like, they're just insane. They're crazy. And I think that's because we want to put our distance between ourselves and them. Yeah. When the reality is that we absolutely are capable of the same things that they are. And they have just been further seduced by sin, honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now, that's not to say that there could never be a crazy dictator. But I think Idi Amin actually is just really deep. You know what I mean? He certainly is a megalomaniac, right? He definitely cares about himself primarily. He definitely has lost some sensitivity to like the loss of human life. Yeah. But I think that these things are things that he's done to himself, rather than it being like some mental affliction that has been cast on him. So that would be my take.
Yeah. I definitely think he definitely is. I feel like he's not like completely crazy. I feel like he is just more evil. Like he's just become, the world has just like destroyed him. Like I feel like his upbringing, he hates the British so much.
He was beat as a child.
He was basically a slave in the British Army, and but like that scene was really interesting though when he's talking about how his background, and like it's kind of before you see him being really crazy and really just evil. And you kind of get a sense of that he is a human being like everybody else. Like
that's my point. Yeah,
he has emotions. Like he feels. He doesn't look back on that time fondly. And there's that really great moment. He's like, and now I am the president of Uganda, and look who put me in, the British. And I don't know. It just feels like full circle. Yep. And that's another interesting kind of part of the movie is that the British were very kind of put him up there. They orchestrated the coup and so it's kind of like that theme of like. Trying to find the solution and it just makes things worse.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a broad theme there, but the British try to, let's put this guy up there, and then he just makes things worse. I think after Amin went into exile, we can talk about this. You want to move into the history section?
Let's go to the history
section.
Cool.
Yeah. So just if you wanted to just give whatever thoughts you had. And
right. So we're in the 1970s here. Yeah. So what we're dealing with is the rise of postmodernism, which is the idea. So, let me back up a second. Mm-hmm. After the First and Second World War, everybody really lost faith in the idea of central principle. And that's what is generally referred to as the death of God. and people were really confused. People were really distraught. They didn't know what to turn to. And in that context, you saw the rise of these really nasty authoritarians who branded themselves as father, right? They were taking the place of the Holy Father and filling that void that people had left because of how they'd been scarred by the First and Second World War. And we're also, not only in the context of postmodernism, but in the context of the Cold War, which is going on in the 1970s. And I'm not brushed up on how Uganda was involved in the Cold War, but there certainly could have been some sort of proxy element going on there. Because they don't really elaborate on like the nature of the war, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the factions was a communist faction.
The faction of... Who are you talking about?
I don't know. Uganda? That's the thing.
Oh, like their ideologies.
I'm not surprised if one of them was communist and the other... Because, like, well, the British put Amin in place, so it could have been, I don't know, that the other president was a communist influence. And a lot of times what the First World would do during that time is to stave off communism. They would actually install authoritarians to keep communism at bay. And so that could have been the context in which we were talking about Amin. And certainly the people, because the people at the beginning were really excited, and it would make sense if they were dealing with a communist regime before that, because that would have really messed up their economy.
Well, one that makes me think like the people of Uganda are just like Nicholas. Like you said, they're drawn.
They're lost.
And I really appreciated that shot when he's on the plane, it's taken off, and he remembers that image he had of the people running when he was driving in the car. That was a really moving, like, emotional moment. Like,
what do you think they meant by that?
I don't know. I feel like it was like, you know, he saw this country when he first came in. Everybody was super happy, and he's like seeing what's happened,
how it fell apart,
and how it all fell apart. And he feels like he's obviously part of that.
Sure.
That's just.
I would have loved to see, like, I think that it's tasteful the way they ended the movie, wondering what he would do. But I would love to see like what.
Yeah, that is
happened
true.
to him.
You don't know if Nicholas.
You don't know what happened.
Does, you know? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, a few points. I was just reading up a little bit on the historical accuracy of the movie, and so it's based on a novel called The Last King of Scotland. Oh, and one thing actually before I go into this, I wanted to know, because I remember when I told you the title of this movie and told you kind of what it was about, you were like, oh, I think you didn't like the idea of the title.
Yeah. So
what are your thoughts now that you've seen the movie on the title? And if you want to explain like what the title means to people.
The title means it's this comment he makes in the movie when he says that the Scottish love him and want to make him king too because he dealt with the British so well, which is kind of a funny comment to make.
But it was real.
He said that, and it was tied into his sort of obsession with Scotland.
Culture.
Right. Now, the title is cool if you understand the movie. It's an interesting title, and it definitely makes you like, oh, what is this movie about?
Yeah.
The only downside, and I'm sure they considered this whenever they were deciding to keep the name for the movie, is that it does mislead you as to what the movie's actually about.
Yeah.
Like when I was told what the movie was called, I had a totally different movie in my head. And like
you were thinking like medieval.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Robert the Bruce.
Yeah, like, you know, fighting with England for independence or something like that. But it's not that at all. So I mean, it's a give and take.
But it is an interesting.
Oh yeah.
He did claim to be. They didn't make that up. He did claim to be the last king of Scotland.
It was an interesting title. With its flaws.
Yeah. Having just taken a marketing class. Now the movie made back its budget and made money, so we can't say that it was, it wasn't a flop or anything. But like, as I'm just having taken a marketing class, like I don't think it's the best title for marketing because, like you said, it does kind of
confuse you.
People are gonna go to that movie and then might like leave like 15 minutes into it if they thought they were going to see like a movie about
like what is
Scotland.
This?
But then again, if they stay, they would have gotten a really good movie.
Yeah.
Because it did. Well, yeah. Then again, there are trailers, so people can watch a trailer and know that it's not about medieval Scotland. But anyway, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So basically, as I was saying, the movie is based on a book, a historical fiction novel called The Last King of Scotland by a guy named Giles Foden, and he was actually a British journalist in Uganda, like during the 1970s. So he kind of took what he learned, what he observed, and turned it into a novel. But it is a novel. The movie is just like the book, has embellishments. It is historical fiction. Obviously Idi Amin was a real person, and a lot of the events that it depicts were real. But Garrigan is a fictional character.
Oh, okay.
But he is inspired by a couple real-life people, according to Giles Foden, the author. One is a guy named, an Englishman named Bob Assels, who worked with Amin.
Wait, what? What was his last name?
Bob Assels. Astles.
That sounds
the
really
most
funny.
English name ever. And then another character and I guess he was a close confidant of Amin. And another guy that served as inspiration for Garrigan's character is a guy named Wilson Carswell, who was also a Scottish doctor that worked for Amin. So yeah, it says here that, like, the novel on which it's based, it mixes fiction with real events to give an impression of that era and of Amin and his life. And but it does have it does depart from history a few times. So the character of Kay Amin. So she, in real life and in the book, she was impregnated by a lover. She was having an affair, but it was actually a Ugandan doctor. And she did die during a botched abortion attempt, but it was by him. It was by the guy. And he actually ended up killing himself afterwards, because he would have been killed by Amin. So Bob Assels, the English guy, said in an interview that the body, that Kay Amin's body, was actually dismembered, and so that it could be hidden, and then when Amin found out, he had it sewed back together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Amin, but here's a little inaccuracy. Amin never actually had a son named Campbell. Okay. They mentioned that in the movie.
Is that the one with epilepsy?
No, that was Mackenzie. They called him Mackenzie. The Campbell's the one that got the shirt, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, and then at the end of the movie, they talk about how Israeli forces stormed the airport and rescued all but one hostage. But I don't know how they got this wrong, but 3 hostages died during Operation Entebbe. I don't know if that was just an oversight. Dang. It's kind of like in Gods and Generals when they missed the date on that one battle. That's more egregious.
That's terrible.
That was, when we review that.
Just look it up in a history book.
When we review that movie, that's getting some hate. Because that's bad. Great movie, though. So yeah, 3 hostages actually died. And it says here a body of a 4th hostage, a 75-year-old Dora Bloch, who was killed by Uganda army officers at a nearby hospital in retaliation for Israel's actions, was eventually returned. So yeah, the body of the 4th hostage was returned. It says here the murder of Dora Bloch is actually in the book, but they don't have that plot line in the movie. It says when the non-Israeli hostages were released, they're shown flying out of Entebbe to Paris on an Antonov An-12 aircraft. But it says in real life, all the non-Israeli hostages were flown to Paris on a chartered Air France Boeing 747. So a different plane. They didn't fly out. They fly out in a different plane in real life. And the final little thing I read here is that, according to the novelist, Amin was kind of, when he was writing the novel, he had this. He thought that Amin was kind of like a Shakespearean Macbeth.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of had that in mind when he was writing the novel, which is interesting.
That is really interesting.
And yes, he says and according to him, he believed that the film's depiction of Amin is comparable with that. So he believes that they did draw that from the book.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because that goes into what we were talking about him not being crazy but falling from grace instead.
Yeah, that's Macbeth.
Right, because the whole point of Macbeth, the way I interpret Macbeth, is the idea that he was a good man at the beginning of the play, but he's drawn into evil. Yeah, and so I can see.
You can also see that kind of. You see it more in Amin, but you can also see it a little bit in Garrigan. He's more passive. Yeah. He's more passive. He's like a passive Macbeth.
Well, Macbeth is pretty passive. That's the thing. It's his
wife.
Yeah, it's the wife.
But Nicholas has elements of a Macbeth.
I definitely, I think that just like that author mentioned, it's kind of the same literary device, where you see a fall, like a tragic hero almost, fall from grace and be drawn into evil. And the idea is to show the audience that this could be you.
So according to the interview with him, he really appreciated that they took that, they stayed faithful to the book in that regard. Yeah. But so the movie is pretty historically accurate. I mean, but it would be obviously historical fiction. You know, it is a movie, it is a novel. Unless you have any other thoughts, we can move on to final thoughts.
Yeah, let's go and wrap it up.
Yeah. So you want to go first to start writing? And we got to do your message to the director,
which is
Kevin MacDonald.
Kevin MacDonald. All right, Kevin. I'm gonna give you the final.
Kevin MacDonald.
Kevin MacDonald. I'm going to give you the final verdict on your movie.
Oh yeah, I'll win the Scottish accent.
Oh, no, I can't. There's no way. Kevin, this is a really excellent piece of art, I would say. Not only is it entertaining, but it's art because it forges meaning and understanding, and just opens up a lesson for the audience to glean. And it's done really tastefully because it doesn't tell you, it shows you, which is a really powerful literary approach. So thank you so much, Kevin, for this excellent film. We were a little confused by some continuity issues,
at the end.
But other than that, we thoroughly enjoyed it. We recommend it to anyone who's above 18, and can't wait to see if there's another film like it.
Not 1 to 10.
8.7.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
So I would give this movie. I'll go 8.8. Like,
oh my goodness!
No, I really like it. It's really good.
You know what? Just because you said that, it's gonna be 8.9.
I mean, I could go up to 9.
They're gonna get bidding war here.
Honestly, this movie is really good. I could low key give this a 9. Actually, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's not like with the. I feel like with the movies we get now, and you talk about this a lot, movies just like were better back in like the
They were 2000s. So, I call it the golden age of movies.
What is it again?
Golden age of movies is like from 1995 to like 2012-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would take it back to 1990 because I think you get Dances with Wolves.
1990 to like 2010.
Somewhere around there.
1990. I think that's really fair because what is that like?
Dances
20
with
years?
Wolves.
No, hold on. That's 20 years. 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years.
I mean, think about the movies we got that we've done.
Yeah,
Braveheart, Dancing with Wolves, Gladiator, Patriots.
Yeah,
I mean all this.
Kingdom of Scotland,
Titanic,
the Lord of the Rings films.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But anyways, I give it a 9. I'll go 9.
Awesome.
But anyways, it's a great job. I really just love Forrest Whitaker. Dominates the movie. Obviously a career-defining role for him. Definitely worthy of the Oscar. And just a great overall film. And I think this was like a story that needed to be told.
That's a really tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I just think that it's not really a lot of people probably you didn't know.
No, I didn't know.
And like the guy, 300,000 people died during his rule. It wasn't like a small amount,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like more people should watch the movie, read the book, know about the story.
I think that's great. That's great.
There's a lot of lessons you can learn, which we talked about.
Yep. Lest we forget, right? Lest we forget. And on that note, thank you for joining us for another hour and 15 minutes or so of blather and talk. We hope you are back with us to spend more of your time on our benign comments about movies. Speaking of comments, you should do that right now, even if it's a hate comment. Listen,
hey, we got the hate comments. Man.
I'm just saying, it feels, if we said something dumb, it feels really good to just dunk on that, So you should go ahead and do that. Anyway.
It's very likely, especially with us.
I know, right? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We are the amateurs.
Yeah. We're such experts.
Yeah. We pretend to be experts.
I know, right? But with a film minor and a history minor, we'll see.
We'll see. We're moving up there.
I know, right? All right. See you guys later.
See you later.